Hello. So this is another little excerpt of Practical Magic, Your Everyday Awakening, where I talk about situations from everyday life and how they are seen from a lens that has everything to do with spiritual awakening rather than being caught up in like the day-to-day monotony or drama or things like that, seeing things from really new perspectives and how everything in your day-to-day life is an opportunity for deeper clarity and deeper awakening. I was inspired to come on right now to share a story about something that has to do with co-parenting actually, but really at its root, what it is having the experience of a person or maybe even a group of individuals talk badly about you or talk shit about you behind your back and then you find out about it or whatever. Having the perception that people are talking badly about you occurred to me. This happened to me a couple weeks ago. It was brought to my attention through my daughter actually, who was like, "Hey mom, I saw her dad, who I'm no longer with, and he was saying these things about you and such and such." I feel like the details aren't really relevant, and I also have no intention of using this space as a way to talk negatively about anyone or share drama. It's actually the opposite. It's how to use what seems to be drama for what it's for, actually, to use it for healing your mind. So my gut reaction to that, which I always label as my ego reaction, which tends to come first. Like first, you something happens, whatever it is within your perception, within your reality, and our reaction is typically an ego reaction. It's something that if acted upon, if continued to follow that thought stream, you're acting out dysfunction. You're acting out non-awareness, right? Anyways, my initial reaction to hearing that was like inside my body, right? I didn't act it out, but it was inside my body feeling like, how dare he do that, and all the stories that go along with that, like how selfish, what gives him the right, all of the stories that start coming up. And I was very fortunate this time around that I noticed this thought stream before I acted it out, and decided, I actually had this moment where I just realized, I saw clearly that this is all me. Even the perception of somebody else talking shit on me behind my back to my daughter of all people, is me. Like I am projecting this in a way and it's for me. And when seen from that lens, it's suddenly the projection is ended. It's not about that person over there and what am I going to do about this to change the situation? How I need to talk to them. I need to speak my mind, all of that. Instead of that, it's more like, oh, this is me. And why would I want this? Why would I want this to be experienced? Because I have this core feeling that it's all actually perfect when seen from the lens of awareness, like this is unfolding exactly as it should be. Anyway, so as I'm sitting there with that perspective and that understanding, the awareness just came flooding in. And it's typically very simple, but the feeling that is associated with it is not something I would label as simple. It is so calming. It is so relieving. It feels like a breath of fresh air or a deep glass of cold water or something like that. It is just so peace-finding. It feels like, whew. And the thoughts that go along with it are, you cannot be violated, that sort of thing. Because that's what I kind of felt like. I felt like someone was, based off of the story, I felt like someone was sort of taking advantage of me. Someone was being inconsiderate to me. Someone was being selfish, that sort of things. And I just realized in that moment, like, whoa, no, that's actually not what's happening. This is an opportunity for me to see these people as they really are. And what I mean by as they really are, for me, in my understanding currently, which is pretty rapidly changing, so stick with me here. But as where I am right now, seeing them as they are means I see them as my own projection, and I see what is coming from them as for me and for my healing. So all of this is really an opportunity for me to dive deeper into my understanding that I really cannot be taken advantage of, and that whatever is arising in the moment, whatever is playing out, is totally perfect. And my job is to find my peace within that. In fact, that's why it's arising, so that I can remember more of where my peace really is, and to trust the way that things are unfolding. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you never express a personal boundary. It just means that when that personal boundary is expressed, it's joyous, it's full of peace. It's not like in defense or in protection mode, which has an energy of illusion, an energy of needing to protect a false idea, right? Because if we're in deep trust and we're in deep understanding, then all is perfect and all is playing out as it should, and there's nothing to protect. It's already protected. In fact, protected doesn't even really make sense. It's more, that's a word in duality. It's more like everything is whole. Everything is one. So there's no way that it could ever be challenged. There's no need for protection to begin with. Anyway, so that's okay. Things can still be a no. Things can still be a personal boundary, but it's done in peace and joy, and just simply because you're listening to guidance, not because you're listening to the ego's need to defend or protect. So as I went through this process, I was greeted with this sense of deep gratefulness for the individuals playing this game with me, for my daughter's dad, my ex, if you want to say it like that. I was deeply grateful for him talking shit on me, and genuinely, like, not that I would approach him like that or ever say, like, thank you so much for talking shit on me. That didn't feel appropriate. It was more on, like, an energetic level, or feeling connected on a level that's beyond form, I guess. Like, almost connecting with him. I don't know. I don't know the words to go along with it. It's more of a feeling, like, just feeling like thank you, you know? And seeing through the illusion and seeing him for what he's really there for, not seeing a projection of him that my mind has created, that sees him as anything less than perfect, right? Now, going forward with this situation, it was very interesting because the situation transformed itself. I was wondering, I was curious how it was going to go from here, because there was a situation that had happened without making this into a long story, because it's not really about the story. But there was a situation that had happened with exchanges. I have a little baby, and it seemed like where we were meeting, I was driving a long way to have my daughter go see her grandma, his mom, and it seemed like me driving that far every time wasn't working anymore. Although normally I'm very willing to do that. I'm excited for her to see her grandma. It just was a temporary thing with this little baby. There was a time where the baby had really cried, like 3 times. We had to pull over. Anyways, long story short, I was feeling that sort of joyous boundary, like, hey, I think we've decided that drive is not going to work, but maybe just temporarily we can figure out a different location to meet that's a little closer while the baby's growing up, you know, this early time frame. And I had gotten a clear no from the Nana. So that was still playing out. There wasn't really a resolution there. And I was just curious, like, wow, there seemed to have been a string of just a little bit of conflict, where, like, there wasn't a strong resolution on the driving thing, and then a situation where there seems to be shit-talking happening. And instead of projecting that onto them, which I have to admit I have done many times, right? When I talk about these stories, it's a story of me being genuine and a story of me being honest about where I am in my awakening journey. And there are many times where I fall for the ego trap, where I fall for my initial reaction, and I project blame or shame or whatever onto other people. But this was one of those situations where that was not the case. I was very grateful that I was able to totally take responsibility for every perception in my reality and use it for finding my deeper comfort, my deeper relaxation, my deeper, I guess, awakened perception, whatever you want to call it. And while doing that, I was just very curious, like, how it was all going to play out. I wasn't really jumping to problem solve. I wasn't jumping to, like, text Nana and talk about, like, oh, hey, where are we going to meet? Or, you know, I heard about this shit talking. Like, none of that. I just sort of letting it be and doing the inner work. And as it naturally played out, it turned out for almost a couple months, you know, my daughter just didn't want to go see her Nana. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Like, of course, her Nana's welcome to come to our house whenever, pick her up, go to the park, all that stuff. It's just that she didn't want to go spend the night at her Nana's house. And I am very big on supporting my children in their decisions. I'll talk it through with her. You know, I definitely didn't encourage her either way. I didn't have any agenda. I just let the situation was playing out differently. And I noticed it very clearly. I did inner work, and suddenly the situation was a non-issue. It was a non-issue. There was no drive to be resolved. There was no shit talking to be resolved. It didn't even need to be resolved from the perception that I was holding at that moment. But the reflection was reflected in physical reality, which is not. It was very interesting. It was like magic, right? It seemed like a certain cycle had been shifted through doing the inner work. So that's an example of something that I would like to call alchemy, right? Like when you turn lead to gold, like the metaphysical idea of turning lead to gold. I feel like that's the true meaning of alchemy, is when you work on the belief level, the perception level, and as you do the inner work, it's reflected out of you, and that's sort of turning the lead to gold. So I just wanted to share about that little experience because I found it to be so captivating, I guess, like a lot of learning involved in that. And I feel like perhaps it's helpful to share those things so that other people might be able to, who feel this and resonate with this, can use these same perspectives in their life and maybe have similar experiences. So, thank you.